when we come here to worship, but we come together because we worship together better than we can worship by ourselves. Music is a big part of that, especially for an old guy like myself that practically grew up in the choir. Many of you may have also. But music says a lot to me. If you still have your finger in the hymnal, look at the one on the other side, number 68. It's a Fred Pratt Green song that it might not be the most singable thing in the world, but the words in it are just truly awesome. When in our music, God is glorified, and adoration leaves no room for pride. That's what we're here for. Let me see. Let's have the next one. I think that's my next part. Yeah. So music is important. If those of you that frequent the Christian radio stations or get into that kind of music, you're probably very familiar with Matthew West. We did one of his songs here. Fernando did it as an anthem, Do Something. I'm going to get through these. Let's see, I got some notes here somewhere. Where did I put them all? Yeah, sure, wing it now. Oh, here they are. Back in 2007 or so, Matthew West had some sort of a thing happen with his throat. And he wasn't able to talk or sing for almost a year. And I can't imagine for somebody like that to be held silent. I'm sure his mind was going 90 miles an hour. Probably did a lot of writing, but I don't know what the deal was, but he wasn't allowed to speak or sing. And around that same time he came out with this album. The first one is the title cut from it, Something to Say. And I guess if he came out of a year of that not being able to sing or speak, he probably had a lot to say. The refrain in that song goes like this. You've got something to say. If you're living, if you're breathing, that's pretty much all of us. You got something to say. And you know, if your heart's beating, you got something to say. And no one can say it like you do. God is love, and love speaks through. You got it, you got it. You got something to say. Think of that as we leave today, as we see people on our daily walk that may or may not know Jesus. We all got something to say, and it's our turn to say it. The next one's the motions. First time I heard this one on the radio, it brought me to tears. Because I heard the refrain, the last line of the refrain that said, instead of going through the motions. He starts out that this might hurt, it's not safe, but I know that I've got to make a change. I don't care if I break, at least I'll be feeling something, because just okay is not enough. Help me fight through the nothingness of life. I don't want to go through the motions. I don't want to go one more day without your all-consuming passion inside of me. I don't want to spend a whole life asking, what if I'd given everything instead of going through the motions? And I thought about that. Every time I heard that song, I thought about it. Golly, is that me? Have I been just going through the motions all this time? Maybe I have. There's another one that is powerful. If you've ever heard me greet you by saying, I'm living proof, that's where this one comes from. But in the shadow of the shame, beat down by all the blame, I hear you call my name, saying it's not over. But my heart starts to beat so loud, now drowning out the doubt. I'm down, but I'm not out. There's a war between guilt and grace, fighting for a sacred space. But I'm living proof grace wins every time. And I think every one of us can say that too. We've all got stuff. This is going way too fast. Another one. This is the one that Fernando sang for us one time. Do Something. Interesting title. There was an Eagles song by the same title that we listened to back in the Dream Team years ago, and we did some things based on that. It was basically, it's time to quit sitting in your rocking chair and get up and do something. In Matthew West's song, it's a little bit different. He starts out singing that he's kind of upset with the way things are going and wondering why God didn't do anything. And then he gets even more upset, wondering why God doesn't do anything. And he shook his fist and said, why don't you do something? And the first time I heard that song, I knew what the next line was. He said, well, I did. I created you. And that's, where'd it go here? And the refrain of that one says, if not us, then who? If not me and you, right now, it's time to do something. If not now, then when will we see an end to all this pain? It's not enough to do nothing. It's time for us to do something. Don't know what that is, but we got to do something. What's the next one? Broken things. God uses cracked pots to do his work, and we're some of them. The refrain in this one, if I can find it. Now I'm just a beggar in the presence of a king. I wish I could bring so much more. But if it's true, you use broken things, then here I am, Lord. I'm all yours. That's where I hope to get, starting today, is all in. The last song on that list is the title track from Matthew West's newest album called All In. It would have been really easy to just play all of those songs and not say a darn thing, because Matthew West seems to do it so well, at least for me. Now, there really is a book. I think that's the next slide. I want to be a quitter. Now, I saw this thing a couple of weeks ago, and it piqued my interest, and I mentioned it to too few people that Sunday morning. Say, I saw that go by. On the Yahoo News, the headline goes by, and you don't read the article. I read the column. I printed it out, sent it to the leadership team, and now here I am. I want to backtrack a couple of weeks. Remember when Pastor Mark, about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, he talked about fighting the giants in our lives? I kind of made the choice then that the biggest giant in my life was going to come to the mat with me. And I had a couple of fantastic weeks, was kind of surprised at how simple it was, and then I relapsed. And last week when Mark was talking about, some addicts that he was working in and they had a relapse, I was like, gee, how did he know that? I've been working with him. So it's a starting all over again. So anyhow, the book, I read it. I tried to get some printed copies for those of you that don't do electronic reading and that. I know there's at least one of you out there. I could not find paper copies in this town last week. I figured, one of those half-price books or Barnes & Noble, somebody would have it. Nope, apparently publishing is on demand these days. They don't print the book until you order it or something. However, it was very easy to find online. I found it at the library. You can get an account with Hoopla. It's an e-reader that the library presents. It's pretty easy. You can download the book. You can keep it for, 2 or 3 weeks, and you can get it again. You can get 10 books a month through this Hoopla thing. It was a very easy read. I've read it twice already. The first time, it brought me to tears on multiple occasions, and even the second time it did. And it's like watching a movie a second or a third time. You get something else out of it. I would urge you folks to all find the book. Find it and read it. You may say, I don't need to quit church. Well, it's not really talking about quitting church. It's talking about quitting doing church the way we've been doing it. We tend to approach things casually, and spiritual disciplines are okay if they fit my lifestyle. Well, I've got a lot of expenses. I can't do this and that. I can't tithe. And, we've all got plenty of excuses, but we're convicted, I think. I was, at least when I read the book. And the leadership team is struggling with our future here, and it kind of hit me a week or so ago. And he talks about it in the book, too, that if we all did these things, if every last one of us did those 5, 6, or 7 spiritual disciplines, we would be amazed, I think, that we wouldn't have any trouble filling the place up. We wouldn't have any trouble having 2 or 3 worship gatherings. But it's got to start inside with ourselves. And so I'm saying that this time I'm a quitter. I don't know what it means yet. I don't know how it's going to implement itself in my life. But one of the things that the guy talks about in there is when you've decided to quit, tell somebody. Tell your pastor. Tell your small group leader. Well, pastor's not here, and we don't really have any small groups right now, and we'll work on that. But I'm telling all of you right now that I'm a quitter. I want to go all in. I want to be all in. And I'm giving you all permission to hold me accountable to that. It's almost scary, but I think it's time. when he gets through with, it's like 6 chapters in the books. He talks about various spiritual disciplines like tithing and inviting people to church, evangelism, prayer, all that. I wanted to go through and say, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5, and 6, because he's got 6 chapters and 6 statements at the end that I'll share with you in a slide. So that's why I want the list. I want to know what they are. I was going to come up with a nice list of this is a discipline, and this is the scripture where it tells us to do that. And I kind of ran out of time, didn't do it. He'll tell you that in the book. But I looked up on the internet, okay, what are the 6 spiritual disciplines? Well, I found a reference to 5 spiritual disciplines. I found a reference to 7 spiritual disciplines, and I found a reference to 12 spiritual disciplines. You get kind of the same thing when you look up spiritual gifts, I suppose. But these things that he's talking about here are the extras. He was very clear that there's nothing we can do to get in the way of God's unconditional love, and grace finds us and grace wins. There's nothing we can do about that. And praise the Lord for that. Because if salvation really rested on our merits and our skills and all that, I think we might be in bad shape. God, I'm just rambling here. Let me see. Let's go, I think the next ones. This is at the end of the book. I don't know if you can read those or not. But the 6 statements, and he suggests that if we find any truth about ourselves, especially if we're honest with ourselves, if we find any truth about ourselves in any of these 6 statements, then the next thing we need to do is decide to quit. So if you can't read them, I'll help. Sometimes I can be critical of my pastor and the leadership team. I often judge their motives, and at times I speak poorly of them. I don't pray for or support them in the way God would want me to. I need to quit. Next one. I don't tithe as I should. I find it hard to trust Jesus with my finances. At times I think the church is all about money, or that I can't afford it. I have all sorts of reasons to not follow God in this area, but I know I need to. I need to quit thinking that way. Let's have the next one. I realize there's lots of areas to serve and to volunteer in, but I don't have the time. I figure there are other people who can help out, and this serving is just not my thing. It's a wrong mindset and a wrong perspective. I need to quit. Sometimes I might invite someone to church, but not too often. I don't really invest in my friends, family, coworkers, and neighbors. I don't pray for them to find Christ either. I find bringing up the subject uncomfortable, or I just don't think about it in my day. But people need the Lord, and I have a responsibility. I need to quit it. It's easier to find reasons not to go to church each Sunday. There's always something to do or somewhere to be. I'm not faithful and consistent when it comes to being in God's house each week, and that needs to change. I need to quit. I go to church. I often give, and sometimes I even volunteer. But beyond my Sunday appearance, I am not really connected to others. The extent of my relationship is just a few minutes in the lobby or lounge after the service. I don't have relationships with people through the programs my church provides, such as small groups or Bible study. I attend, but I don't belong. I need to quit. So, if we find any truth about ourselves in any of these statements, the first decision we have to make is to quit. To decide right now, I'm not going to be that person anymore. I'm going to quit. If you don't, you've been missing out on so much. You'll keep yourself from winning at new levels, and you will keep your church, God's church, from winning at new levels. There's way too much at stake, way too much to gain, way too many rewards and blessings for us to leave it on the table simply because we won't quit. In a word, some of those disciplines are worship, prayer, meditation, Bible study, giving, attendance, witnessing. Some of those you probably got out of those statements, and maybe one of them said, oh, yeah, maybe I need to work on that. Now, this is where you get the answer that you're going to get, answer to the question you're going to get asked. I want everybody to reach into their pocket, their purse, or whatever, and take out your keys. I bet every one of you's got their keys. Hold your keys up. If there's anybody that doesn't have keys on them, there's some up here too, and you're welcome to come up and get one. There's sometimes, maybe you'll carry one around with you forever. Maybe the message on the key ring will give you pause to evangelize somewhere, somebody will say, "What are you all in for?" Well, then that's your opportunity to explain it. But those spiritual disciplines he talks about in the book, those are the keys. We all got the keys already. So when the young people come back and they're glomming over the cookies and all that, hopefully they'll remember to say, "Hey, what's this key for?" And maybe they'll ask you as well. And so that'll be your first opportunity to come up with a cool answer. But we all have the keys. We've been given the keys. We don't have to go searching for them. It's not like one of those goofy idols on Survivor or anything. We already got them. God gave them to us. And it's just up to us to use them. Read the book. Get it, read it. It's an easy read. It's interesting. The number of pages that it says there are depends on how you're reading it. If you read it on a smartphone, it's 500 or 700 pages long. But it's, every page is about 4 sentences. You just flip, and you read it. When I read it on my computer at home, it was like 45 double-sided pages. It was a lot less foreboding. Oh, only got 45 pages. Good. But it was a good read. It was a necessary read, and I would urge all of you to find it, read it, and share it with those that haven't heard about it yet, because it's time to quit church, because our life will change if we do. Gee, I got all sorts of time, and I don't really have anything else to say other than music. Oh, there he is. I do have some of those things that I read to you printed, a couple of them, if you want them. I also got the page or so article that turned me onto this book in the first place. I can give you to them until they run out, and if you give me your email address, I'll email them to you. The last thing, we talked about small groups. Starting next Tuesday, and for as many Tuesdays as we want to keep doing it, at 6:30, come join me here. Don't know where, probably the main lounge, maybe the Bible room, I don't know. Come at 6:30. We'll talk about this. Call it a small group if you want to. If nobody shows up, well, then maybe I'll leave. But the key to our relationship with God, one of the keys anyway, is a small group. We're a little shy on that now, but maybe this will be the start of something new. So 6:30 Tuesday, bring supper if you want to. I don't expect to discuss it, talk about it, pray about it, whatever, for more than an hour or so. Tuesdays at 6:30.